Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we've got player props here for you guys on a Tuesday, little 3-game slate on Tuesday night here after a ton of games on Monday. On Monday, we did pretty well in these player props, I would say, Nate. 3-1 plus 2.65 units on the night. Kind of saved us after a rough best bets video where we only went 1-4. So we only ended the night minus 0.3 units. Still on the season, Nate, we are up 6.55 units for everybody. So hopefully you guys are continuing to follow along. Like and subscribe to that page. We also do have the best bets video up for you that we're bringing you along with these player props each and every weekday this season. Also want you to head to thelines.com. Check out the great written content we're putting up on the site right now. Had the sports equinox yesterday, as everybody knows, so plenty going on in the sports world up on thelines.com. And you can use that odds finder tool that we have for you guys. Make sure you're getting the best odds available to you from these books, giving us bets this NBA season. Nate, let's go ahead and run into your first NBA player prop on this little 3-game slate here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Devin Vassell, 17.5 points, and it's plus 100 at FanDuel. I'm fine putting just over a unit on this. I think it's kind of a little lower than it should be because the Spurs were blown out their last game. So Vassell still 14 points in 28 minutes with his best offensive rating of the year against that Clippers defense, which I think I have more respect for than the Suns. I mean, Josh Okogie should be the one guarding Vassell here. And he's all right in terms of an individual defender. But, I mean, with Booker and Beal still doubtful or out, I mean, Booker, honestly, just more of a competitive, like, low to the ground, low center of gravity, like, nagging defender, I think, for a guy like Vassell. I think he has a quickness advantage on Okogie. I think he'll be getting his buckets. In the first 2 to open the season, he was 24 points per game on a elevated usage rate, 22.5% to open this. So, per 36, it's the same as last year. He's getting nearly 22 points per game, and that's what he was doing last year. But this year, he's been more efficient, like a 119 offensive rating versus 110, and that's despite only shooting 31% from 3. I think he can get hot here at Phoenix in a game that the Spurs are going to be elevated in terms of trying to match, Kevin Durant and company and, stay competitive. And I think he's unquestioned the top offensive weapon for them right now, as Wemby still is trying to find his footing offensively in the NBA.
Yeah, no question. I mean, even last year when he was on the floor, you saw spurts of it as like the go-to scorer for this team, and he'll continue to be that. He's like a super pure 2-guard, just exactly what you want. He definitely has enough handles to play out there. Definitely isn't like, all-world Kyrie Irving level dribbling skills, but the shooting is wild. Like, he doesn't care where he is right now. He's pulling up. He's rising up pretty high on that jump shot as well. So I do agree he's a little bit quicker than Okogie, who's pretty quick himself. Obviously, athleticism goes to Okogie. We'll see who he even guards, honestly. Okogie can guard anybody in this one, but it'll probably be Vassell for the majority of the game. It'll be a fun matchup, and I think they'll be looking for Vassell to get his shot and play off of that anyway, which is usually the number one option for them. You mentioned the 14 points that he got in that blowout 40-point loss to the Clips, and that was actually led the team. So you still know he's going to be the victim of that sometimes this year, but I hit him for most improved player of the year after watching his first game against Dallas, where I was like, my word, like the confidence of Devin Vassell has risen. And I think the Spurs knew that as well last year when they kept him on the team, then they paid him, but they didn't even play him last year. They sat him all the time and then paid him in the offseason, meaning they know what we all haven't been able to watch yet, which is like, this guy's going to be a very good scorer in the NBA. So I'm with that pick. I'm going to move on to my first pick, which is a guy who let me down a little bit in the other game against the Hawks, Julius Randle. I took his points and rebounds over. Did not take the assists, and I probably should have, because then that would have hit. He had 9 of them in that game, a near triple-double. In this one, I'm just going for the rebounds and assists, and it's at 12.5, and I'm eating the juice. I'm just taking it at minus 140 on BetMGM and putting 1.2 units on it in this one. I think if you want, you can get over 13.5, by the way, and you get much better juice, minus 104 on FanDuel if you want that. Wouldn't tell you not to. I had a rough night in best bets last night in a way that I'm like, let me just play this one a little bit safe, even though I was fine on the props. This one did, the best bets ate me up a little bit, so I'm keeping it conservative, but putting 1.2 units on it. Like I said, he's gone over the 12 and a half rebounds and assists every game so far this season. He's averaging 18.3 rebounds and assists so far, and his potential assists are way up too. And that's what I started looking at when he kind of ate me alive by getting the 9 assists and not enough points in that game. He's deferring a good amount. I think there's something to the idea that guys like Quickly and Jalen Brunson are playing off of Randall, who seems more willing to pass it when he's driving than he otherwise was last year, because he's got, like I said, 12 potential assists per game, which is leading to roughly 6 assists per game for him total. So the guys are making a good amount of open shots off of his passes. Jalen Brunson's on pace to shoot more 3-point attempts per game than any season of his career so far. I mean, I don't know if that's going to hold. It's 3 games, like I said, but I think there is actually something to the idea that the usage for other guys around Jay Randall has risen, including Jalen Brunson specifically from the 3-point line, where he's not always been a 3-point shooter. Like, Jalen Brunson's a really good inside the arc player, despite his small size, really shifty and good at getting to the rim. But that 3-point shooting has improved and is something that he's clearly putting a bit more emphasis on. So I think that the assists will continue to be there for Jay Randall. Like, I think he's good for 9 boards tonight. I mean, his rebounds are at like 8.5. His assists are at about 3.5. Obviously, I get that's how we get to this number here of 12.5, but like, both of them are good numbers to me. And I think the assists, you can even get up to like a 5 assist game is very reasonable for him. That's what he averages in this series against the Cavs as well. He went over this in all 3 meetings. He averaged 5 assists per game in the 3 regular season games and 10 boards per game in those games as well. So I think he's going to continue to be looking to pass, which is a huge part of why I'll keep getting his assists until he starts chucking up shots a lot more. Like, he's seems a little bit more into the idea of passing than shooting threes, and driving rather than shooting threes, which is why he's playing a little bit closer to the rim and getting those dimes.
Yeah, I'm surprised his number is that low. I guess because the Cavs are a very good defensive team, but I mean, yeah, Randall is starting to understand that he shouldn't be taking these low percentage shots, that he should be playmaking. And that's why, yeah, even against a team like the Hawks, you saw him rack up the assists and the boards and be more of a playmaker rather than necessarily trying to get his points at all costs. So I think it's pretty similar to my pick here. Russell Westbrook over 13.5 rebounds and assists. And I talked about this in the best bets, putting him in some same game parlays for the rebounds, because he's been more of a rebounder, facilitator for the Clippers this season. Pretty much did it all for them after being acquired last year, but I think he feels he has less to prove as a scorer after the Lakers disaster. And this year he's averaging 11 points per game through 3, but also getting 8.6 rebounds and 8 assists per 36 minutes. And I think he's going to play about 36 minutes tonight, considering the trade that just went down for James Harden, where Batum, Marcus Morris, Robert Covington, KJ Martin are out the door. Terrence Mann is still out with his injury. Norman Powell is questionable tonight. So Westbrook should get all the run he can handle. He's produced against Orlando in these areas. 9 rebounds, 8.5 assists per game, along with 16.5 points, along with 4.5 turnovers. Classic Westbrook stat line. In his last 4 against Orlando, that's 3 with the Lakers when he was not the same type of high energy, high usage player that he is now. So to get this juice at pretty much even money for 14 peripherals for him, I think it's fantastic. I mean, Orlando does play very good defense this year in a limited sample against bad teams, but they allowed the 4th most assists to point guards last season. They allowed 119 points per game on back-to-backs, and they allowed a lot of threes. And Westbrook's going to be driving and kicking to PG and Kawhi, who are going to be hitting threes. That's the same game parlay we're looking at basically. So half a unit on the even money for the peripherals, and then I think you could put at half a unit or quarter units on the double-double or triple-double for Westbrook, which is plus 1,800 for a triple-double, for quote, Mr. Triple-Double, who's going to get maybe, some of the most consistent minutes he'll get all season right now.
I can't imagine that number stays at 18-1 for him to get a triple double. Like, that's crazy to me. I'm definitely taking that, because you're just saying, like, do you think he's going to get 10 rebounds and assists? Yeah, I do. I think this is a great bet at nearly even money. I'm down to put a full unit on that one as well. I need to temper myself a little bit here, but I'm really liking the Westbrook stuff to just go balls to the wall. Like you're gonna be playing him 35 to 36 to 38, however many minutes. There's not that many guys left for them to play. I think they want to make sure they get this win. I think the Magic can hang around with them and bother them in certain ways. They are still a very good defensive team despite having played bad teams in the past. So I don't think this turns into a blowout either way. I would have felt good about taking the Clips at like -6.5 even if they had their full roster in hand. But with the fact that, there's going to be such few guys playing, I think it's going to be closer. Westbrook loves the idea of being one of 6-7 guys that are going to play for the whole team and getting all those minutes, knowing that he's one of the 3 best players on the team, unquestionably on the floor for them with these 2 guys. Like such a great Westbrook moment that he's going to relish, and I'm going to go ahead and try to bank as much money off that as I can. But I'm going to finish off with another not juicy parlay. What's the opposite of juicy? Dry. It's -140 again, but it's Wemby to go under 6.5 boards. And look, he's done this once this season out of 3 games. That's not even really as much of what I'm worried about. But I've been saying this since I saw Wemby play, which is like, if you look at where he's going to be playing on the floor, I don't think it's reasonable to expect him to be like an all-world rebounder this season. Like it's very easy to push him out of the paint. I understand he can still reach over a lot of guys and get the rebound that way, but he's not even really starting down there on offense because that's not where he plays. He's not a back to the basket guy unless he's in the mid-range even, and that's the one spot that he's gotten the ball, and you might worry about him being down low. It's on like 15 feet on the baseline, right? Like, but out there, still further away from the rim. That's where he is on offense at most. And then other than that, it's pick and rolls and really pick and pops as a lot out on the perimeter where he's keeping certain big guys away from the rim who are trying to guard him because that's where he has an advantage over them. He doesn't have an advantage over anyone down low. So 5 boards each versus the Clippers and the Mavericks. I understand he played like slightly less than 30 minutes in both those games, but still had decent minutes in those, up around 30, because of the fact that those one of those games was a blowout. And the Dallas game was one where he had foul trouble, so he wasn't able to play as much. But I still don't think he's getting more than the 30 minutes a game the 30 minutes he saw against the Rockets, where he got the 12 rebounds against one of, if not the worst rebounding team in the NBA in Houston, which is what they were last year, which is what they are so far this year as well. Because God bless Sengun, he's not banging with everybody down there that well. And Jabari Smith still pretty much a rail stick, so like he's not exactly banging down low that hard either. Not a great rebounding team is the point for Houston, and so the Wemby stats at 7.5 boards this season are completely skewed by the 112 rebound game, and that's why I think you have it even listed at 6.5, and you get plus money for him to get 7 because everybody's like, this tall guy got to get rebounds. Phoenix is the 9th best rebounding team in the league right now. They were last year as well, even before they got Nurk. With Nurk last year, Portland was the 13th best rebounding team, and that was in like a very small sample size. But then when they lost him, they were the 4th worst rebounding team in the league, unsurprisingly, because Jeremy Grant ain't banging down low. So I think with Nurk in there, you know what you're getting. You're getting a guy who's going to control the center. I've been very impressed with his defense as well, the way that he's moving. I know that the Spurs play with a high pace, final point, but like, they actually don't get that many shots up. They turn the ball over a decent amount. Both the Suns and the Spurs are in the bottom 5 in terms of field goal attempts per game. So there's just not even that many opportunities for both these teams to get the ball off. I think Phoenix will continue to just be like, we're going to slow you down. We know what you want to do, and we're not going to let your young legs tire our majority of the players that are going to be veterans for this team tonight for the Suns. So I just think 7 rebounds is too many. I'll eat the juice at -140 and take the under.
Have we really gone so far the other way in terms of hype that we're not trusting Wemby to get 7 boards? This is like an NFL bet that he's just like...
Just the rebounds.
You're just not used to the speed of the game. You're not used to the strength of the NBA game, apparently. Stand aside and let Nurkic and Zach Collins handle the paint, young man. And I guess he's just going to be roving around on the perimeter. I personally would not take this as an under. I would probably look at the over for turnovers for Victor Wembanyama, because we have a limited sample in terms of his minutes. Yes, he played 26 minutes in his debut, trying to keep it down there. And then we just had a blowout in their last game. So it's just such a limited sample in terms of how much he's actually going to play. I think if he plays 30 plus minutes, he's going to back his way into 7 rebounds. He's so tall. And the Suns are not going to be world beaters on offense with 2 of their 3 big guys out. But turnovers, he's got at least 4 in every game. I'm not sure what the prop is, but I think he's good for plenty of turnovers as he learns the NBA game.
I do want to know what his turnovers are, so I'm going to take a look at it. But like, I would love to put a little bet in there of like, I don't know, maybe how many does he have more? His turnovers are at 3.5. They expect some turnovers from Wemby
Plus
as well.
money, plus 115 for 4 turnovers again.
Okay, yeah, that's some pretty good juice for 4 more turnovers. I think you're fair on that one. I will maybe we'll run a little side bet here. If he gets he's gonna have, I don't know, we'll figure it out, but it's gonna be turnovers and rebounds, and we'll figure it out from there. I just, yeah, I'm fading the idea because he's tall, he's gonna get boards. That's basically what I'm doing. I'm not fading Wemby though. I still love you, Victor Wembanyama, and I'm still supporting you, and I still think you're a phenom that I'm gonna be watching every minute of. I just don't think you're gonna get 7 rebounds tonight. So that's all the time we have for you in this one. We are going to be back each and every weekday, so continue to follow along, like and subscribe. You got play props here. Also got our best bets with you guys as well. Up 6.5 units on the season through about a week and a day or so now. So continue to follow along with us, and until we see you next, happy betting.